Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Real Chalk Reviews. We are finally back with Zatima and all the shenanigans. This review is for Season 3, Episode 11, Actions and Consequences. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off in the finale, with Zach getting arrested for the unaliving of Jeremiah. The arresting officer, in my opinion, was doing way too much, telling Fatima to stay back. I'm like, what are you talking about? She didn't even move a muscle. But anyway, so Deja, she's out there, of course, ranting and raving because she's telling the officers that they are arresting the wrong person. She wants them to take Fatima. The officers basically was ignoring Deja, telling her it's not their problem, get somebody else to do it. It's a civil suit. So now Deja, she's hotter than fish grease, and her and Fatima, they get into it, and they're going back and forth, getting their blood pressures all worked up. So we head over there to the precinct where the officer is trying to get Zach to talk about what happened with Jeremiah. Of course, he's not saying a mumbling word. He doesn't know what they're talking about. He wants his attorney to be present, as he should. So the more the officer pressed for information, the more Zach got out of pocket with his mouth. He's telling him to go to hell. The officer let him know that's where you're going to be going. Zach had to let Officer Johnson know, I've been in hell all my life, so bring it. The officer brings up Miss Gladys, and of course that's a real touchy subject with Zach. He doesn't want anybody talking about his mom. So he gets real foul at the mouth, telling the officer to suck his thing, inviting him to a fight, asking him to take the handcuffs off so he can show him what he can do. And the officer was like, oh, so you gonna beat me up too? So he says, F you. And the officer told him, that's what you did to yourself. So we go over there to Belinda's house, and Nate, he comes over there, and all Belinda wants to know is, do you have my rent money? Nate is trying to tell her about Jeremiah being in the hospital and that he's not doing too well, and she quickly let him know that she didn't give a damn because Jeremiah came in her house and stole from her, and she wants her money back. So Nate brings up that the shelf that Zach knocked down when he came through there like a tornado was still on the floor. Belinda is looking at him like, look, I want my rent money. I don't have time to be worried about what's still on the floor. Like, I didn't pick anything up, even though it did look pretty clean to me compared to how Zach left it. But anyway, they're going back and forth again about this rent money, and he's hollering at her, and she's like, who the hell are you hollering at? So she picks up a piece of the broken furniture off the floor, and she threatens him with it, and he assures her they will figure something out to get her rent paid. So we see Fatima down at the police station, and she gets a call from the funeral home director, and he said he got some kind of message. I'm not sure what that message was because Fatima cut him off before he can say anything. And he tells her that the arrangements for Miss Gladys have been set, and I think with all that's going on, she totally forgot that Miss Gladys still needs to be buried, but she can't give him an answer right now for any of that. And is there any way that they can extend the date until further notice? He wants to know, well, how long do you want us to hold the body? Because basically this is a business at the end of the day. And Fatima is stressed out, frustrated. She doesn't want to hear anything about money, money, money. Like, let it go. So he tells her to call him back when she's in a better place to discuss the situation. So Angela, she comes to the police station to show Fatima some support, and they discuss the whole Jeremiah-Zach situation. And Fatima tells her that she told Zach she would not be coming down to the jail to see him, and here she is sitting here looking like a fool. And Angela reassures her she's not looking like a fool, she just loves her man. So Angela asks her about getting an attorney from the firm, and Fatima tells her that none of those are criminal lawyers, and she's still waiting to get help from one of her attorney friends. So Angela reluctantly tells her that there's this viral video going around where Zach is wailing on Jeremiah and beating him to a pulp. So we head over there to Rise Ventures, and Preston is looking for Zach so they can get these contracts signed. Him and Bryce, they've already signed it, but Zach needs to sign, and they need to have a conversation. But every time Preston and Bryce are in a scene together, they talk about the same exact thing. Bryce is basically just kissing his ass, telling him what he's not going to do anymore, blase, blase, blase. Preston always seems to play pop-up over to Zach's house because he's getting no response. Bryce then wants to know, can he go with him? And Preston has to tell him, you know doggone well Zach doesn't want to see you. So Preston, he heads over there to Zach's house, and he gets there real quick. Common sense would tell him that nobody's home because there's not one car in the driveway on Zach's side, but he goes and knocks on the door anyway. And of course, Deja comes out and scares him half to death. And he's like, Deja, don't you have a job? Like, why are you always here? When do you go to this job? So she tells him that she works nights, and this is when she informs him that Zach is not home because he's in jail for unaliving somebody named Jeremiah. So Preston, he's in complete disbelief and wants to know what jail he's in. So she looks at him crazy like, what are you gonna do, try to Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and break him out? So he tells her that Jeremiah is Zach's brother, so she can't believe it. So Deja's thought process was Zach was going to be in jail forever, so does that finally mean she can live there rent-free? And that would be a no for 200, Alex, because Fatima will throw you out so fast. So Preston, he immediately calls Fatima to see if this is all true, and she confirms that yes, it is. He is in jail. So Preston is still trying to figure out the name of the jail that Zach is in, but nobody is giving him that information. He's asking Fatima, can he at least come and see him? She's telling him she's trying to get back there first and let her handle everything. And she has to apologize because she realizes that Preston is just trying to be a friend to Zach and he's worried about him. Angela and Fatima are talking about just taking this one day at a time, and her phone is blowing up and it's Bryce. And Fatima is telling her, girl, go ahead and answer it. And she's like, no, he'll be all right. I'm here with you. And Fatima thanks her for being a friend, thanks her for supporting her through this. So we head over there to the barbershop, and Nate and Tony are talking, and he says that he was at the hospital all night and didn't have any service. So Tony called BS and told him to look at his phone and let him know what it said, and he came clean and said he was there for 45 minutes because he couldn't stand to see him laying up in the bed like that. So I guess the real question is, where was Nate last night? Because clearly he just admitted he only stayed at the hospital for 45 minutes. We know he was not at Belinda's house because he just left from over there. And he clearly wasn't with Tony on the couch because Tony thought he was in the hospital. So was he at Lori's house? And I'm sure we will never know. So he tells Tony that he was trying to see if Jeremiah had Belinda's money, but his pockets was on E, and Belinda is standing on his neck about her money, which then leads Nate to ask Tony, can he get his spot back on his sofa? And Tony is like, nah, man, I can't keep babying you like that. You got to get your act together. So Nate claims that he will get it together, and with hesitation, Tony lets him know he can come back just as long as he promised that he'll try to make an effort. And it was noted that Nate did not promise. All he told him was, thank you, and I appreciate you, man. Let's just hope that he can get it together this time. So they switch back to Jeremiah and his status, and Tony wanted to know what the doctor said. And of course, Nate has no idea. So they bring up Connie and they talk about how she's been tired a lot lately. Now, this could be foreshadowing for Connie possibly being sick, her being tired, her losing a couple of braids and having a bald spot in the hospital. Maybe she finds out later on. We see her hugging Tony and looks like she's crying. Maybe that's when she finds out the news. We don't know, but we'll see. So then Nate and Tony, they start talking about the way Zach crashed out on Jeremiah when Mr. Tyrone comes in and pretty much lets them know that the whole fight was caught on video and it's going around. He starts teasing the both of them because they can't fight and got their ass beat, and told them they fight like two bees with no arms. So Mr. Tyrone tells them he knows that Zach now regrets what he did, and they're like, nah, he don't regret anything. And he's like, well, he should, because now he's facing a life sentence. And they're like, what are you talking about? So he breaks the news to the both of them that Zach went to jail for unaliving Jeremiah. And Nate and Tony, they're in disbelief. And Nate is like, you mean to tell me he's actually gone? Now, this is the part that I don't understand, because in the finale, Nate and Connie were both at the hospital when they thought that Jeremiah coded. But here in this particular conversation, Nate never brings it up, as if it never happened. Now, for me, I thought the scene was a little off because you had Mr. Tyrone joking about Jeremiah's passing, and then you had Nate and Tony. Their energy just wasn't given that, oh, I just lost a childhood friend. The first thing Nate says is, we need to go get Zach out of jail. Why isn't nobody picking their phone up to call Connie to find out what the hell happened? But anyway, we go over there to the jail. Zach gets a visitor. Her name is Donna Tinsley. She announces that she's an attorney, but she lets him know she's not a criminal attorney. Basically, I'm only here to get Fatima back here. Would you like to see her? Of course he does. So she gets Fatima. Fatima comes in. And Donna, she tries to explain to Zach that this is a very serious matter. And she brings up a strategy for taking this to trial. And Fatima says he won't be taking it to trial. And me and Zach looked at her confused like, what are you talking about? Now, even though we know that Zach is guilty of the crime and there is video evidence that went viral on social media proving it, Zach does have the right to take this to trial if he wanted to. So the two of them start talking and Fatima wants to know, was it worth it? Zach has that same chip on his shoulder like, yes, it was. I was protecting my family. He doesn't give a damn about what happened to Jeremiah. And at this point, it is what it is. So Fatima says to him, oh, so you're standing on that. The two of them go back and forth. He's talking about protecting the family, and she's just saying that he threw it all away. So he says, what's done is done. I'm in here now. I don't have nothing better to do. So Zach just feels like all he'll do is get an attorney, and if he can just get one brother on the jury, they'll understand. But now here is where he drops the tough guy act and he doesn't want her to be mad. She lets him know that she is mad. She's mad at a lot of things and how he allowed Jeremiah to come into their lives and ruin everything. Zach says that's not fair. So Fatima lets him know that she does love him. He says that he knows that. She says, no, you don't, because you didn't love me enough to stop. So now the smug attitude is gone now. He's crying now, and he wants to know, what was I supposed to do? I thought I was just trying to protect my family. Fatima basically tells him, just stop, just cut it out. And she says to him that I've put up with so much of your ish, you think that I'm going to sit through this? And basically tells him that he can sit there and cry all he wants to. She's not doing it. And all because he felt like he had something to prove. Now, just in case Zach forgot, Fatima did try to talk to him long before all of this happened.
Go ahead and see the show with Zach.
I will.
Okay. But I promise you this. I will not come see you, I will not write you, and I will not answer your calls.
Okay.
Oh, you think I'm kidding? Zach, you know me.
I do know you.
Now that little smug attitude that he had, it was given, oh, I do know you, but you'll be all right. And what Fatima is giving him right now in return is what we like to call, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. And once again, Zach has to learn that a hard head will make a soft ass, because 1,001 people tried to talk to Zach ahead of time and he didn't listen. So he wants to know, so what are you saying? She says exactly what I said. I'm not doing this. And she gathers up her things to get ready to leave. Now he has these tears just streaming down his eyes at this point, and he cannot believe she's actually getting up and going towards the door. He wants to know, where are you going? She turns around and she says, look, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I have to consider myself and my baby. He's like, that's our baby. She tells him, well, you should have thought about that. Fatima gets on the other side of the door and she starts bawling. She is crying, she is hurt, she is upset, stressed out, overwhelmed. And I'm sure that's one of the hardest things that she's ever had to do, considering the fact that we know how much she loves her some Zach. And you can hear Zach going through all the different emotions behind the door, calling out Fatima's name, Fatima! But hey, it's falling on deaf ears because Fatima is gone. And that's where the episode ends. Woo child. Things are getting serious up in these Zatima streets. What do you guys think about what's going on between Zach and Fatima? Is she wrong for walking away after letting him know ahead of time, this is what's going to happen should you do this? These are your actions. Now these are the consequences. Hence the name of the episode. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about it. Let's talk about it. As always, you guys, thanks for all of your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one.